Hello wonderful world, and welcome back to another video where I will be reviewing a motorcycle that brings about a nostalgic, melancholy feeling, and you'll understand why when I introduce it to you. It is the Royal Enfield Classic 350. Let me begin with a little photo shoot of the bike so you can appreciate its beauty, its vintage beauty. Near the end of the video, I will give you some specification information through spec sheets, and during the video I will be brutally honest about this bike. Know this, it is not a Japanese bike, it is not a German bike, it is a bike that's made in India with some engineering input from the UK. But this is not a bike you own if you want something of high performance. This is a bike you hold on to because it is a classic, and there's something that is generated in your heart, in your soul, in your mind when you ride a vintage classic bike. However, the engine is not as vintage as the looks, and that may be one of its positives. So folks, it's the Royal Enfield Classic 350cc motorcycle, and we're taking it for a spin. It has a sound that is reminiscent of the classic Enfield, even though the engine might be a little more refined from yesteryear. From the outset, I want to explain one thing. Most people who buy this bike are enthusiasts, and so some of the negatives that I will report aren't things that they will take too much notice of. The truth is, it's a beautiful bike, but I would be remiss if I didn't share with you the positives and the negatives. I'll start with the positives, and the first obvious glaring positive is its timeless styling that attracts many riders. It may be a 350cc motorcycle, but it looks big, it looks strong, and it looks vintage. Something we all aspire to of a certain age. I think those that are of that age understand exactly what I mean. The sound of the engine also brings back a nostalgic feel of old bike. Though, as I said before, the engine is a lot more primed, it's a lot more modern, but they've kept some of the sounds so that you feel that you're still on a vintage bike, which matches the way it looks. To my surprise, the next positive is something I didn't expect. The relaxed riding posture this bike offers makes this very comfortable to ride. Short distances, very easy, but even long distances, you wouldn't tire riding this bike. The engine coupled with the exhaust makes a beautiful sound. But the engine, when you look at what it states on the tin, 20 brake horsepower, 350cc, you'd expect it to be less torquey than it actually is. So I'm really impressed with the engine. And I think the new or the advancement that the current Royal Enfield has over the older engines is going to make this a big seller. The last positive I will share is the Royal Enfield community. Once you have this bike, you can ride solo, but if you ride with your fellow Royal Enfield riders, you instantly have a family that promotes not just this bike, but a level of camaraderie which I don't think you get with modern bikes. This is a classic, and it comes with a classic mentality, a vintage mentality, and I believe that the family that you inherit by being in a Royal Enfield group is very unique. Unique just like this bike. It pains me to share the negatives and other negative points that owners have raised, but for the sake of being fair, I have to share them. So the first one is vibrations. It is a thumper engine, and most thumper engines do suffer from vibrations when you go at a higher speed than the bike feels comfortable riding. This is no different from any other single cylinder. There are vibrations, and I think they would affect you on longer journeys. The next issue which haunts the Royal Enfield is reliability. In the past, problems pertaining to electrical and mechanical issues, wiring issues, oil leaks have always haunted the Royal Enfield. However, this is the newer version engine, and only time will tell whether those issues of the past will revisit the current stock of Royal Enfield. I'm hoping not, but again, as I said, time will tell. The next issue is its weight. This is not a light bike, close to 200 or just above 200 kilograms. It's a heavy machine. On a 350cc engine, it's a very heavy machine. This leads me on to the final negative, its top speed. It is limited, but then one has to bear in mind it is 350cc and 20 horsepower. I don't mind. I think this is one of those bikes you have as a second or third bike, and in that case you ride it for its beauty. Just look at it. It's one of those things you want to put on your mantelpiece if it was big enough to house the bike. Other niggling issues that owners have mentioned is rust on the chrome, but I guess if you keep it well maintained, that wouldn't be an issue. And the one thing I would also add, which is going back to the positives, I found the suspension really comfortable. For a 200 kilogram bike, it's a good set of springs. Now, I promised a spec sheet, and I'm going to deliver. So wonderful, folks, that's the end of that review. For all those on two wheels, please ride safely, and for the rest of you, God bless you all.